Hello, welcome back to the Villa View. This time we're here for the Norwich City preview. Absolutely massive game for Aston Villa, so let's get down to business. So the Canaries are the latest team that Villa are facing in the Championship. Obviously we haven't won a game yet, so it's a very, very important game for us and a good time for us to get 3 points on the board. I've said before that games have been must not lose. This is quite simply a must win. Nothing else will do at this time for Steve Bruce and Aston Villa. I think everyone's feeling the pressure at the moment, the players, the manager, the club in general. I think Steve Bruce's press conference today, he was a bit tetchy, if you ask me. I think he's been quite annoyed by some of the criticism he's got, rightly or wrongly, whether you think he should be getting criticism. Obviously, we're 23rd in the league, so I think to expect not to get criticism is a bit naive. But as he says, it's 3 games into the season, so I can see where he's coming from with that. But the simple facts are Aston Villa have to beat Norwich City at Villa Park on Saturday. Norwich are a bit of a funny one, really, because obviously they've had a very inconsistent start in the fact that they've won one, they've drawn one and they've lost one in the league, so it's difficult to know early doors which Norwich will turn up. We're going to cross over now to Matt Lynch, who's graced us with his presence on a match preview, and he's going to tell us hopefully some more information about Norwich City.
So it's time for my part of the preview. Dan's probably already berated me for not turning up for the preview, blah, so I decided to take a weight off his shoulders and do actually some of the preview. I'm working, unfortunately, when Dan's actually filmed it, so I'm doing it now, and I'm going to preview basically Norwich and what we can expect of them on Saturday. Putting it fairly simple, they're in a much better position than we are. They're under a new sort of stewardship in terms of guidance and direction. They're changing their playing style. They're developing a new system under the watchful eye of Daniel Farke, their new head coach, who's obviously stewarded by director of football at the club. I'm not going to say his name right, am I? It's Stuart Webber, who is their head of recruitment / director of football, the man that sort of got the plan. He was with Huddersfield last season, and they're hoping to obviously emulate something in terms of having a German-based manager with a certain philosophy to hopefully developing something for Norwich and taking them forward. They've had a slow start to the season, only winning their first game midweek against... who did they beat last night? Got it. Norwich beat QPR the other day for their first win of the season. 3 goals from Harrison Reed, who's on loan from Southampton, and Nelson Oliveira, who I think could be the dark horse for Golden Boot this season. But they're offering something that we don't, and that is attacking intent. They're playing a brand of football that's attractive, and they're winning games, starting to develop it. And really, QPR have had a good start to the season as well, so it's no mean feat to beat them, and they're in a good position. And I'm just a bit concerned, really. Looking at their team, there's a few players that I really do want to pick out and say that they're the guys that can sort of cause us some trouble. Nelson Oliveira scored a goal against Fulham on the first game of the season, coming off the bench, made a real statement of intent. Scored again against QPR. Really good player, really like him as a striker. Played at Forest a few years ago as well. Going further forward than that, you've got Harrison Reed, who's playing midfield for them, on loan from Southampton. Really good young prospect, and one that I'd imagine we'll see flourishing in the Premier League soon enough, but he is on loan at Norwich this season. They've got Angus Gunn in goal, who I think is a really good young keeper, on loan from Man City, obviously son of Brian Gunn. I think really through that squad, they've got a player that's got experience, they've got players that have got a bit of youth, and they've got something that can offer a bit of pace as well. Something that Villa haven't really got on the wings at the moment is that pace. And I'm a bit concerned going into the game that Norwich could actually end up beating us. Last time we played them, though, was a good result, winning 1-0. Jonathan Codger with a goal. Ground out a performance then, and I can see us potentially trying to ground out the game on Saturday. But the only problem is the fact that there's no Jonathan Codger, for one. And secondly, Norwich are in a different position to they were sort of 4 or 5 months ago, the last time we played them. So it's been a really interesting game for both sides. Both sides could do with picking something up, especially Villa. Steve Bruce under an immense amount of pressure to try and get a result on Saturday. Teams have come to Villa, or we've gone and played them, and they've sort of turned around their bad form. Norwich have already turned around sort of that bad form, winning midweek, and they'll be looking for a bit more momentum, building on it. Villa, meanwhile, have got no momentum, look shot of confidence. Steve Bruce has come out midweek and said about players shying away from it. We can't afford to be seeing them shying away on Saturday, because we will simply be beaten if that is the case.
Thanks for that, Matt. Very, very insightful. Harrison Reed's another one who scored for them in the week on loan for Southampton. I actually think that's a decent place to be getting loan players, so the fact that we've obviously been linked with a Southampton loan player as well, it's a good place to go if you want to get young talent on loan, because Southampton have obviously got a good academy, so he's someone who'll be looking to pull the strings, Harrison Reed, in midfield. Our home form has been good over the last 12 months. I think we've only lost 3 games, so at this stage of the season to have a home game is very, very important to us, because obviously we are far superior at Villa Park to what we are away from home. The 2 defeats have been pretty tough to take. I think the Cardiff one hurt me a lot more than the Reading one. I mean, they're both tough games, but if you want to go up, you've got to win the tough games. So it's something that Steve Bruce needs to rectify as soon as possible, the away form, because we can't rely solely on home form, because you ain't going to win every home game either unless you're very, very fortunate. So we have to start doing both. We have to pick up points away from home, but we have to make sure we're winning our home games. That's crucial if we're to have any chance of promotion. One of the problems we've got at the moment is I think injuries are slowing us down slightly. We haven't been able to put the same team out any game in a row at the moment because we just keep picking up knocks in the games. Obviously it's the same again with Scott Hogan. It looks like he may miss out. I expect him to miss out because obviously it's a kick on his ankle that he's had trouble with previously. I think part of the problem as well is that Bruce doesn't know his best lineup. Obviously some of the chopping and changing can't be helped, but some of it can. You know, we've got to try and get the core of a settled side. I think obviously he knows who he wants to play at centre back, in goal and left back, but I think the rest of the pitch, I'm not sure he's got his best 11 in his head at the moment, and that's a worry and something again that I'd expect Bruce to be formulating in the next few weeks if he does indeed hold on to his job and we get some wins going again for Villa. Pleasing to see Jedinak back, because obviously since he's joined the club, without him we haven't won a game. That's a worrying statistic, especially for someone who really goal scoring has been a problem so far. Obviously only scoring 1 goal in the league, and he isn't going to make a difference to that, but what he will do, he'll make us tighter, because obviously we've shipped 5 goals in 2 games, which is nowhere near good enough at this level and nowhere near good enough for Aston Villa. I think it would be a bit of a risk to throw Jedinak straight in. Obviously at his age, he hasn't had much of a pre-season, but as someone pointed out to me on social media, he's probably been doing some kind of pre-season work behind the scenes with the club medical staff, so you'd hope he'd only start if he is fully ready. But I suppose Jedinak for 70 minutes is better than Jedinak for 20 minutes off the bench, unless of course we are trying to see out the game, which fingers crossed we will be at that point. I think Bruce will plump for Jedinak. I think he's just so reliable. He's so important to the squad, and he'll solid us up. He'll make us a lot more solid, and I think Chester and Terry will be glad to see him in front of them. So hopefully we'll see a much more solid Aston Villa for this game. I think it's going to be Johnson in goal. I think it would make sense for Delat to continue at right back, because I think he will become our first choice right back this season. So to get him match fit, the only way he's going to do that is by playing games. Neil Taylor at left back, with obviously John Terry and James Chester at the centre of defence. I think it will be Jedinak and Whelan in front of the back 4. I think there's no way Whelan misses out being a new sign. I think Bruce likes him, and I think again he needs games to settle in. And I think Conor Hourihane, having obviously scored in midweek, it was nice to see him actually get forward. We'd certainly need more of that, and hopefully if we have got Whelan and Jedinak there, that'll give Hourihane more licence to go forward. So I think he'll come in front of Whelan and Jedinak, and I think on the flanks we'll have Onuma on the left, and I think El Mohammadi will come back in on the right. And I think obviously if Hogan's out, it's going to be Gabby on his own up top. One encouraging factor is that Agbonlahor actually does have a really good record against Norwich, and has scored some important goals against them in the past. Even in the season when we went down and we beat Norwich, that was the only goal Gabby scored that whole season. So hopefully he'll go into the game on a high, knowing that he's done damage against them previously. Just wanted to talk a little bit about John Terry. He's been taking some criticism in the media for this perceived spending time at Chelsea. From what I know, he's actually spending his own downtime at Chelsea, so to me that's no issue at all. If he wants to have extra work done on his body at Chelsea in his spare time, that's no issue at all. It's no different to any player doing anything in their spare time, so I'm not sure what the big outcry about this was. What has disappointed me slightly with Terry, I think he had a bad game against Cardiff, which, okay, players have bad games, but I think him and Chester looked reasonably solid against Reading away, and obviously he had a decent time against Hull at home. What has disappointed me a bit about him, I think he's coming across to me a little bit shy on the pitch. He doesn't seem to be barking out the instructions and cajoling us in the way I thought he would. So it seems to me like he feels he's got to prove himself to the Villa fans before he can start doing those things, which obviously is good to see, but we need him to be doing those things, because quite simply that's what he was brought in to do. So I want to see a bit more from John Terry. Maybe Jedinak being in there with him will help as well, because that's 2 vocal presences, 2 organisers, and maybe Terry will feel more comfortable with him in front of him. But I'd like to see a bit more from John Terry. He is a brave heart, a lion heart, he's a leader, he's all the things you've read about him and heard about him, but I just want him to be a bit more vocal on the pitch. I think we need that organisation, and I think he can bring that, so I just want to see him step up a little bit. Not a dig at him at all, because obviously I'm not going to dig someone who's done what he has in the game. I just feel I'm not seeing that same kind of vocal presence I was seeing when he was on the pitch for Chelsea. So for me, more of that from John Terry. Tough one again. I'm going to go with, I think, 1-0 to Villa, a scrappy 1-0. I think Ian Taylor spoke on social media in midweek about just that need to just win a game by any means, and I do think that's what will happen. I think Norwich are beatable. They're by no means the finished article. I think they're still finding their best team at the moment. The manager's trying to work out what tactics he wants to play, but obviously the difference is he's only been there a few months, whereas Steve Bruce has been at Villa for 10, so you'd expect us to have those things in place. But now I'm going to go with James Chester first goal scorer. I see this being very much in the mould of the Derby game at home last season, where Chester scored in that. He scored the winner, so I'm going to go 1-0 with Villa. James Chester from a set play. I believe we can cross to Matt Lynch for his prediction.
So for my prediction for the game, I'm going to predict a 0-0.
Okay, thanks for that, Matt. No basis behind that at all. So just 0-0. Matt Lynch thinks it's going to be 0-0. I think it's going to be 1-0 to Villa. Remember, whatever you think it's going to be, you can join our Fan Score League. All the information for that's going to be on the screen now. I believe Matt Lynch called me out last time by saying none of us, out of me, him and Dan Rolinson, were in the top 300. But I think at that time of speaking, I'm not sure whether I'm still there. I was in the top 300, so yep, join the league if you can. It's a good bit of fun. Obviously a really, really difficult patch for Villa so early on in the season. We're nowhere near where we expected to be or where we wanted to be, but whatever you think of the manager, whatever you think of the players, I think it's really important that we get behind them tomorrow at Villa Park and let's try and roar them to victory. Even if it's a scrappy one, let's just make sure we get over the line. That's what we need, a win of any sort. If you have enjoyed this video, then do give it a like if you can. Comment below with your predictions and what you think of Villa's predicament at the moment. Obviously, I can't imagine too many positives, but let's try and have a discussion. Let's try and work out where things are going wrong with Villa. Let us know in the comments your opinions. Matt will be outside the whole end after the game doing fan cams. I'm going to let him have his turn because obviously I did it last time, but I'll make sure I'm there as well, and hopefully I'll get to meet and have a chat with as many subscribers as possible and give my thoughts on fan cams as well. Everyone's welcome on fan cams. We have quite a lot of people ask us all the time, can I come on fan cams? Is it all right? We literally want as many people as possible. We want to gauge as many opinions from the Villa faithful as possible. So whether you've been on before or not, do come and see us after the game outside the whole end and make your voice heard on fan cams, and that'll be up on Saturday night on our YouTube channel. Thanks for sticking with the channel. Stick with the Villa of the Villa.
If you enjoyed that video, why not watch another one? Click the video choices on screen now to go and watch them in full. And don't forget to subscribe. Click on our logo there on the left and press subscribe. Easy.